A Scorpio moon can survive almost anything: heartbreak, betrayal, loss. But there is one thing they cannot live without. It is the reason they pull people close, the reason they push people away, the reason they test, protect, hide, and sometimes disappear. Everything a Scorpio moon does can be traced back to this one emotional need. The question is, what is it? To understand the answer, we have to understand something about Scorpio moon energy itself. Many people assume Scorpio moons are driven by intensity, that they crave emotional drama, are naturally suspicious, and are simply complicated people. But what if those traits are not the cause? What if they are the consequence? Because no one is born wanting to test people. No one is born expecting betrayal, hiding the deepest parts of themselves. Those behaviors develop for a reason. And if you look closely enough, they all point back to the same need. A need so fundamental that it quietly shapes every relationship a Scorpio moon has. And until that need is met, they often feel like something is missing even when everything else seems right. The greatest misconception about Scorpio moons is that they need intensity. In reality, intensity is often what happens when a much deeper need goes unmet. At their core, Scorpio moons are not searching for excitement. They are not searching for perfection. And despite what many people believe, they are not searching for control. They are searching for certainty. Not certainty about the future, not certainty that life will never change, but certainty that what they feel is real. This is why Scorpio moons are rarely comfortable with surface level connections. Casual friendships can be enjoyable, but eventually, most Scorpio moons begin asking questions that are never spoken aloud. Can I trust this person? Do they mean what they say? Who are they when no one's watching? What happens when the mask comes off? These questions are rarely verbalized, yet they are constantly operating beneath the surface. Because a Scorpio moon understands something that many people spend years learning. People do not reveal themselves immediately. The deepest truths are often hidden beneath appearances. And so Scorpio moon energy becomes a kind of emotional investigator, not because it enjoys suspicion, but because it longs for certainty. It wants to know that what it is investing in is genuine, that the connection is real, that the loyalty is real, that the feelings are real. And this need becomes even more powerful because of the moon itself. The moon governs our emotional security. It represents what we need in order to feel safe, in order to relax, to put down our defenses. When the moon is in Scorpio, emotional security is rarely found through predictability alone. It is found through trust. And trust is not something Scorpio moon gives away lightly. Not because they are cold, not because they are guarded for the sake of being guarded, but because they understand the cost of vulnerability. They understand that once you allow someone into your emotional world, that person gains the ability to affect you in profound ways. And Scorpio moons feel everything profoundly, much more profoundly than they often let on. That is why many Scorpio moons appear stronger than they actually feel, calmer than they actually are, less affected than they truly are. What others see is self control. What they do not see is the depth of emotion being managed beneath the surface. And perhaps that is one of the greatest misunderstandings about Scorpio moons. People often assume they are secretive because they enjoy mystery. But most Scorpio moons are not trying to be mysterious. They are trying to be careful. There is a difference. A person who has never been deeply affected by life can't afford to be reckless with their heart. They can reveal everything immediately, trust quickly, they can assume the best. But Scorpio moon energy rarely works that way. Whether through experience, instinct, or simply the nature of this placement, Scorpio moons understand that emotional investments have consequences. Every person you let close has the power to change you, disappoint you, to hurt you. And because Scorpio moons understand this, they often approach emotional intimacy with far more caution than people realize, not because they expect disaster, but because they understand what is at stake. This is why many Scorpio moons spend so much time observing. They are paying attention. They notice contradictions, they notice inconsistencies, they notice the difference between what people say and what people do. In many ways, they are less interested in a person's words than in their patterns. Words can be rehearsed, promises can be made, but patterns tell the truth. And the truth is what Scorpio Moon is always searching for. Because beneath every question, every observation, every hesitation, there is a deeper question being asked. Is this safe? Not physically safe, emotionally safe, safe enough to trust, to invest, to stop watching for signs of danger. And this is where the paradox of the Scorpio moon begins. Because more than most people realize, Scorpio moons crave intimacy. They crave closeness, they crave the feeling of being completely known by another person. Yet the very thing they want is also the thing that frightens them most, because true intimacy requires something that cannot exist without risk: vulnerability. To be vulnerable is to remove the armor, to stop managing perceptions, to stop protecting every soft place inside yourself. And for a Scorpio moon, that can feel like standing unarmed in the middle of a battlefield. Part of them longs for it, part of them resists it. And this creates a tension that can follow them throughout their entire lives. The desire to merge, to retreat, to trust, protect themselves, both existing at the same time. And nowhere does this tension reveal itself more clearly than in the way Scorpio moons test people. The word test often carries a negative connotation. It makes it sound as though Scorpio moons are intentionally setting traps, as though they are constantly evaluating people from some hidden position of power. But in reality, most Scorpio moons are not consciously testing anyone, at least not in the way people imagine. Their tests are often much quieter than that. Sometimes they are watching to see whether someone's actions match their words, to who remains consistent over time, to how a person behaves when there is nothing to gain. And sometimes they are simply waiting to see who stays. Because for many Scorpio moons, trust is not built through grand gestures, it is built through evidence. One moment means very little, 100 moments begin to mean something, consistency begins to mean something, reliability begins to mean something, character begins to reveal itself. This is why Scorpio moons are often less impressed by charm than people expect. Charm can be learned, charisma can be practiced, beautiful words can be rehearsed, but character reveals itself slowly. And Scorpio moon energy has always been willing to wait for what is real. In fact, one of the reasons Scorpio moons can appear so patient in relationships is because they are often looking beyond who a person is today. They are looking for who that person remains over time. Who are they after conflict? Who are they after disappointment? Who are they when life becomes difficult? Because anyone can be present when everything is easy. The real test of trust begins when things become complicated, and perhaps that is why betrayal affects Scorpio moons so deeply. Not because they expected perfection, but because trust is never given casually. By the time a Scorpio moon truly lets someone in, they have already invested something precious. Their confidence, their vulnerability, their emotional world, the parts of themselves that most people never get to see. And when that trust is broken, it is not merely the loss of a relationship that hurts, it is the collapse of certainty. The realization that something they believed was real was not what they thought it was. For many people, that is disappointing. For a Scorpio moon, it can feel devastating because what they were searching for was never just affection, it was truth. And when truth feels unstable, everything else can begin to feel unstable too. Yet, this is also where Scorpio moon energy reveals its greatest strength because despite everything that has been said about their caution, their suspicion, and their fear of vulnerability, Scorpio moons possess an extraordinary capacity that is often overlooked. Because hidden beneath all of Scorpio's symbolism is something many people forget. Scorpio is not only associated with endings, it is associated with rebirth. This is why Scorpio moons often possess a resilience that is difficult to explain. Life changes them, relationships change them, loss and betrayal changes them. Yet somehow they continue moving forward, not unchanged, but transformed. And perhaps that is the deeper purpose of the Scorpio moon journey, not to avoid pain and vulnerability, not to spend a lifetime searching for certainty in an uncertain world, but to learn that trust and vulnerability can exist together. Because eventually every Scorpio moon reaches a crossroads. They can continue protecting themselves from being hurt, or they can allow themselves to experience the very thing they have been searching for all along: true intimacy. Not the fantasy of intimacy, not emotional intensity mistaken for intimacy, not obsession and possession, but the quiet experience of being fully known and fully accepted. For many Scorpio moons, that is the rarest experience of all, to discover that someone has seen the depths, the fears, the contradictions, the scars, the parts they spent years trying to hide. And instead of turning away, they stay. Because beneath every defense, every hesitation, every period of silence, every careful observation, there has always been a simple desire to know that what is real can be trusted, to know that vulnerability will not always be punished, to know that love does not always have to be earned through suffering. And perhaps that is what Scorpio moons need most: not intensity, not control, not power, but the freedom to stop searching for hidden dangers, to put down the armor, to believe that what they feel is real. Because when a Scorpio moon finally finds that, something remarkable happens. The observer becomes open, the protector becomes vulnerable, the skeptic becomes trusting, and the person who once guarded their heart with extraordinary caution becomes capable of extraordinary devotion. Not because they have changed who they are, but because they have finally found what they were looking for: a reason to feel safe enough to let the walls come down. And once a Scorpio moon reaches that place, there is very little they will not give: their loyalty, depth, honesty, their heart. Because contrary to their reputation, Scorpio moons do not spend their lives searching for power over others. They spend their lives searching for a place where they no longer need power to protect themselves.